Hey, what's up, homies? This is the latest one of the stainless steel series. Again, I've made quite a few actually exactly like this one, just without the satin finish. I generally don't do too many satin finishes. I do like these type of finishes more, where it's very smooth. Alright, the grinds are not so coarse that it's difficult to wipe, because these are sharpening surfaces, so there's no point in satin finishing them, really, because you're going to anyway sharpen them on the stones. So I'd rather do like a really nice job of grinding them and keeping it clean, I guess you could say. This steel is also extremely difficult to grind. You know, it costs like almost 50 euros in abrasion in belts just to grind through these knives. So this was the more prototype-ish one, where I was testing a few things. But yeah, it's got the ring, which is super important, and it's got a bolster, and the bolster is kept in with two screws. The screws are super important. If you're gonna put a front cap bolster at the front of a kitchen knife, or at the front of any knife, and then you just stack it with a random piece of wood behind, you bend the blade, that washer is gonna pop off, and glue doesn't hold. You need mechanical fix. You absolutely need to always make sure that everything is mechanically put together. A lot of guys, they just stack stuff on top of each other. Literally, they just stack a whole bunch of things on top of each other, and each one of those layers will expand and contract. When you bend the handle, everything disconnects from one another. So it's very, very important it's very, very important to have mechanical fixes. So pretty cool design. The customer wanted this particular wood. You can see here, this is stabilized ash with black dye. And then fully octagonal. So I'm gonna try with other, like later on after I'm done with these, because they've ordered a few of these that are identical. And the next one I'm gonna make, I'm actually gonna add another little stud here, just like this one, but in curly birch, because it's laminated. It's two pieces of wood, so I want to have more connection also in the middle. The actual weight, these are 1.5 millimeters thick, and it's that super alloy stainless steel. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like 2% carbon, 4% vanadium, 20% chromium, 130 grams for this particular one, which is quite nice. When you have stabilized wood, it's generally a bit heavier. Well, this is 131 grams as well, so that's interesting. But the ring is much thicker here than on this one, because this one's been grounded down into an octagon. So, and then this one, just a basic one, 115 grams. So they've got decent weight. They're really nice. And then I like to add this string here. This is seen on some Asian knives, like Takeda knives and stuff like that. Because I like having something there that isn't like, it's not obtrusive, right? But it's there. So if you're drawing the blade through a lot of carcass, and there's a lot of fat and there's a lot of fluids around, it's nice to have something there that you can grab onto. I especially like something here. But this is just some regular old nylon type of string that's super tight, and then just with super glue very, very carefully all the way around. So, but yeah, this I think is better than integral bolsters, because it's not connected to the blade, so you don't have a massive dramatic inconsistent metallurgy between the bolster and the neck. So you don't risk, cracks. You don't risk a lot of issues when you're actually heat treating I didn't heat treat these. These were all already like professionally heat treated. But I think a cap like this, it's also like with integral bolsters, you can double the weight of the knife just because you have a massive chunk of metal there. And when you're talking about dimensional stability in steels and engineering, generally what you want to avoid is massive transitions in thickness. And this is not just for heat treating, this is for mechanical reasons too. Now, granted, I don't want to bash on integral bolsters because they are pretty cool. They're not difficult to do either. It's often a kind of an interesting thing for people to train to do. The integral bolsters were invented to overcome manufacturing issues with making knives and to simplify the process of making knives. And they would use drop forging. So you would have a drop forge that would literally just smash out the whole profile of the blade. And when you had that, you also had the integral pommel. So it wasn't just an integral bolster, it was also often a pommel too. And then you just have a couple scales on there, and that was a great solution. And you'll see a lot of old, cheap stainless steel knives from 60s and 70s and whatnot. They're all drop forged, mass produced, and the integral bolster and the integral pommel, it added a little weight. It added a lot of quality to mass manufacturing, and you get a lot of benefits in terms of comfort on the handle, but it also dramatically simplified the process of making a higher quality knife. So nowadays, when we're making integral bolstered Damascus, whatever, kitchen knives in the artisan world, it's a lot of forging. It's actually like forged, like with hammers and power hammers, and by shaping, it's not drop forged and done in 3 seconds. So yeah, there's that. But this way here, what's nice, why I think this is better, is that you're stopping the wood. So often one thing that I really don't like, of course, like I said, is stacking just random pieces of stuff on top of each other. And the problem with an integral bolster, of course, is that you have your integral bolster here, but then you just put a random piece of wood on the front, and so that wood will expand and contract. So you want to have a non-organic material if you're going to take like a integral bolster seriously. And the nice thing with this is you can have the benefits of an integral bolster, having the metal there. You don't add weight, but you also reduce heavily the expansion and contraction of your woods, whether they're stabilized or not. And so you don't get this over time, this transition, this sharp, transitions over the different layers. So I think this is better, a more professional way to do it, because it's very light, An integral bolster can weigh as much as the whole knife itself, like 50, 100 grams or something. So, but I like integral bolsters, so I'm not gonna, I think that there's nothing like particularly wrong with them. And when it comes to kitchen knives, you're not smashing them around, you're not throwing them at trees and stuff like that. So you don't have to worry about any like metallurgical instabilities and stuff like that. One of the type of customers that like this profile a lot are people who work a lot with fish. So it's being 1.5 millimeters thick and also being stainless steel and stainless super steel, they really enjoy being able to use this for all of their major cooking, all of their basic cooking. So you're making sandwiches, or you're doing snacks, or you're doing a main meal, but you can also actually use it very easily on fish, and so that's like it's not primarily for fish, but it's very good with fish, and it's not a fillet knife, so you're not limited by the variety of kind of cooking that you can do with it. So really, it's an overall kind of utility blade. And it's very nice. And when it's satin finished like this, it is so smooth. It feels so nice, of course. But yeah, it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to actually get that finish there. But yeah, so this is one of a whole bunch of the exact same ones that are coming out. It's like they ordered like 6 of these. And this is the first one, but I think I'm going to keep this one or sell it to somebody else. Just because it's the first one of 6, and I'd rather do a practice one and then do the next 6, just to and then have this sitting around and play with it and test it, just to make sure that everything holds together, because you never know when you make something, especially in batch. It's good to if you're going to make a batch, it's really smart to make a couple, keep them for a few months, play with them, mess around with them, do stupid shit with them, and then see how it holds together, because often it's so easy, and this happens all the time in the knife making world. Somebody's like just making up a design, making a whole bunch of knives, but they've never used the knife themselves. They've never tested the knives themselves. They don't actually do anything with the knives themselves. So what happens is they do like a Takeda Scandi grind kind of edge on stainless steel, and then they make because it's so quick and easy, and then they send them out. They send like 20 blades out, and then it's like everybody calls back, hey, this doesn't hold an edge. Well, yeah, the chromium carbides can't hold that fine of an edge. The chromium carbides are thicker than the leading edge, so of course you're not going to have any edge retention, because it crumbles. So there's and people, they don't even spend the time, 10 minutes, to go and chop up a carcass to do these kind of things, to test their knives and to see where things fail. And often what happens is that those knives fail very quickly, within just a few moments, because the idea doesn't work with real life. And you'll see this, for example, with Sanmai Bowie knives that are kept, that are threaded with a thread, that are threaded on, with handles that are threaded on. The guy has never chopped a fucking branch with his knife, so now the customer goes, he just paid $800 for this, what he thinks is a really cool knife. He chops really freaking hard into a massive branch, and guess what? The blade is warped because it's Sanmai, and the thread is already starting to break because it's 3mm thick thread. You can't even hold up a painting on the wall with that, or keep you would never use that on a trailer, for example. And then what happens is, this knife that costs $900, it's like a Sanmai Super Bowie and all this kind of stuff. He's used it for one afternoon. The blade is warped, there's a crack in the wood because there's no ring at the front, and the threads are loose or bending, or the nut is shearing the things off, because the guy who made it never ever doesn't know how to, just has never used a Bowie knife in the real world. And that happens a lot. That kind of stuff happens a lot. But that is the nature of being an artisan and working and doing your work, and actually, getting better at what you do. It's just it's like if you're a soccer player, it's, when you're, in the beginning, when you're only 13, 14, 15-year-old, you probably can't juggle the ball like a 40-year-old, world athlete level kind of guy. So, you can't expect everybody to figure it out straight away. And often the only way to figure things out is the hard way, and to make really stupid mistakes, and to be so overconfident to send something that you haven't tested out of the shop for a really exuberant price. That happens all the time. And that's why it's very difficult to be an artisan, actually, because trust is really difficult when you're making, when you're doing something, making by hand 1,000 times stuff. So, so this is the basic design. What my philosophy is, you come up with a design and you make it 1,000 times. You keep repeating the same process. You get better at making the same process. You stick with what works. You try not to experiment too much. Try not to, go out of the way of what already works. Just stick with what works. And this has worked for me. So this is what I like to stick with. And this is what I think is a good quality blade. And this is what my customers appreciate from me and want me to make more of. So I'm not gonna, start adding or subtracting things that add risk to the process of design and quality and this kind of stuff. So, it's good to hang on to those first few pieces and play with them, test with them, make sure that they're solid and stuff like that. Now I've made a whole bunch of these, so it should be completely fine. But again, like, isn't that really nice, the satin finish? So these are the type of kitchen knives I like to make. I do also forge them. I've done Damascus, I've done integral bolsters, full tanks, the whole freaking thing. So you can find them on my social media. You know. But I think in the modern day, nowadays, when it comes to city people especially, you really want to stick to stainless steel. The smartest thing you can really do is you water cut, plasma cut, one design, whatever handle, rat tail or full tang. Get them all heat treated by a professional. Don't do it yourself. And then now you have a huge stack of blades that you can grind, that you can finish, and that you can focus on all the important things that are in terms of fit and finish and quality, right? So you're not spending too much time bothering to heat treat or grinding a profile out. You know, get yourself a design that you like, a profile that you like, get it cut, plasma water cut, get it heat treated by people who know what they're doing with their heat treat. Don't start mucking about with, you know, your home heat treating setup, and then turn those blades into finished products. See, I think that's the smartest way to go about it. And do a stainless steel. You know, that's huge right now, and people appreciate it. You know, especially those super steels. Yeah, you need a really high quality grinder, but you know, this is really nice steel. It's stainless steel. I don't have to worry about it. You know, I can just cut whatever and leave it on the side of the whatever, and it's done. So yeah, just a random video, and I'll see you guys later.